by for Wyoming Hookin Huntin Outdoors with your host, Drew Kirby.
Hey, this is Luke Combs.
I am Morgan Wallen.
I'm Riley Green.
I'm Travis Denning.
Hey, I'm Aaron Lewis.
Hey, it's Luke Bryan.
I'm Tim McGraw.
What's up? This is Ian Munsick.
Wyoming Hookin Huntin Outdoors.
It's Drew. It's Janet. It's Wyoming Hookin Huntin Outdoors. Janet Millick, it is an exciting time of year. Anytime you can look at the hunt planner at wgfd.wyo.gov and see that nearly everything is in season now or will be opening within the next couple of weeks. So it's a fun time in Wyoming.
It is a fun time. The weather is fantastic. The trees start to turn, the nights get cold, and it is time to get out in the field. It is so fantastic.
You know, I remember a couple of weeks ago, there was a storm that popped up in the afternoon. It was hot. It was humid beforehand, and that storm popped through, and the weather's changed since then. That was the turning point. There's that one moment that you can always remember where everything you just said, the days are getting shorter, the days are getting cooler at night. And I mean, it is just so fantastic to finally not be sweating every time you get into your car.
Definitely my favorite time of year. And most importantly, it's great because you can still do all of the fantastic things that Game and Fish and Wyoming have to offer, like fishing, hunting, boating, whatever your little heart desires. Fall is the time.
So we had talked earlier in the year, if you're a Wyoming resident, you had until the end of May to get your application in for the draw. And one of the things that we mentioned is that if the draw happens and you get a license, you draw a license, that at that particular moment, you don't have to have hunter education under your belt. But we're to the point where this season is upon us. And for you to get out into the field, you have to have that hunter education.
Absolutely. And this is the time of year where my phone just lights up with panicked people who can't find their card, weren't able to get into a class. And, you know, we always warn people that a lot of times taking hunter education during the winter with your kids or early in the summer when things maybe aren't quite as busy is a good idea, because trying to fit into a class when everybody else is trying to fit into that class can always be a little bit tricky. But, you know, anyone born before January 1st, 1966 does not need a hunter education card. But, you know, the crazy thing is like this year, kids are being born in 2012, and that's the year that they were born and they're hunting this year. So it's kind of crazy that most people these days do need to have a hunter education card. And so if you were not lucky enough to get into a class, and there are so many classes being offered across the state, Game and Fish has something to keep you from, you know, not being able to get out there with your family and harvest an animal this fall. Yeah,
the mentor program, which that works for kids hunting where they don't really need that education class, because you're mentoring, you're learning from whoever you're hunting with, but that person has to have one.
Absolutely. And so here's the situation. If you are just thinking about maybe becoming a hunter and you were able to draw a license, or maybe you're going to get a general license over the counter or a leftover or something along those lines, and you just want to try it, and maybe you don't have the time to invest in a hunter education class, there's lots of options for you. This hunter mentor certificate is kind of the way to go. So essentially, you have a mentor and a mentee. And if you're like me, you get those really confused about which one is the or the E. So I don't worry about that too much. But essentially, if you don't have a hunter safety card, you can fill out some forms online. You can sign some pieces of paper, and on you go. And it is super fantastic. So you want the mentee, to be someone. It can be anybody of any age who wants to get out there and learn from you. As the mentor, you want to be able to teach them the things that they need to know in the field, firearm safety, all of those things. You need to be at least 18 years of age, and you must have a valid hunter education certificate in the field. So it's one of those things that is pretty important. You have to have a current hunting license as well while you're in the field. And so you just have to make sure you look at the fine print on that hunter mentor program. But it is a way, if you are unable to get through a hunter education class, does allow you to hunt this year.
So let's say son is 18 and mom wants to go hunting but doesn't want to take the course, or doesn't have time to take the course right now. But son is 18, has the hunter education. Is son able to be mentor for mom?
Absolutely. If son is 18 years old, he can absolutely take his mom out and teach her how to do the fantastic things in the field that he has learned, through his hunter safety class. So essentially he's kind of becoming the instructor, which I think would just be a really fun scenario.
Yeah. And, I've talked over the last couple of weeks to folks that are just really getting into being in the outdoors. Maybe mom is a single mother and doesn't really have a lot of resources, but the options are there with programs like this, because mom could go out with uncle, or mom can go out with neighbor and learn the things that she can then pass on to her kids. And let's go a little further into this devil's advocate type thing. So being from out of state, a lot of hunters in Wyoming are from out of state. You still have to have a hunter education program taken. Now, if you're from, say, Illinois, you have to have that certificate with you when you're hunting here.
Absolutely. And so that's one of the things that makes fall extra busy for us as well, is everybody is trying to get their numbers that of the class that they have taken. And if you're like me and you took it in the 80s, that can be a wee bit of a challenge. And so that is always something that we have to work extra hard to get that information for people. And we just keep Wyoming records. We do not keep every other state records. And so you have to think clear back to, oh my goodness, I took this in the 80s in Illinois. Where is my card? And if you're anything like me as a parent, I can't remember what I cooked for dinner yesterday, let alone where I stored my hunter education card that should show you how I can do math as well. 40 years ago, where my hunter education card is. And so one of the fantastic things that Wyoming is working on, and there are still some gaps in the programs. And so if you are one of those gaps, please let us know. But we are working to make sure that as you take that hunter education in Wyoming, it will print on your hunting license, which is so fantastic. What a great thing just to have it, that number right there. You don't have to remember where your hunter education card is. It's right there. You can have a digital copy, all of those things. So it's a fantastic way to kind of keep track of things.
So the education program in Wyoming, is it a two-parter? Can you do it online, but then you have to have field time too?
So it just depends on which course you take. If you are taking so this is not the hunter mentor program that we're now talking about. We're talking about the hunter education classes. And so how those work is we have a traditional class where you do all of the education in a classroom with an instructor with other students. And so you get the books and the handouts, and you're taught, different things like animal classifications, rules and regulations, firearm safety. And then you take a test at the end of that in-class session. And that test includes, whatever you want to say. I'm trying to think of I can't even think of school anymore. Going back to, it's a multiple choice. There you go. It's a multiple choice test. And then you also have to kind of pass a firearms handling, making sure that if you know how to cross a fence in the field with a firearm and you know how to unload and check for safety and you can communicate that stuff well. The second class that the Wyoming Game and Fish Department does offer is called our Internet Completion Course. So you can go online and take lessons online through an agency that you pay separately. It's not us. And you can learn all of that information. You can take quizzes and everything there. You then have to pass an exam. You have to bring that exam into a in-person class. It's usually a 4-hour class. You show them that certificate. You take another test. You learn how to handle firearms safely, and you pass that exam. So, whatever you have, whichever course works best for you, whatever you have time for, we've got lots of options, 3 to be exact.
Absolutely. And that's the best part about it, is try to do and help out as much as possible and give you options, because you got to have this. It's important. It's important not only that you have it, but that you know the information, because all it takes is one faulty move and somebody that doesn't know what they're doing that could really cause accidents.
Oh, absolutely. You're out in the field and you just don't realize how easy things happen. And it's even things like how you position a firearm inside a vehicle, how you carry the firearm as you may be dragging your harvest. All of those things are super important to know, as well as, how to field dress your animal. All those things are important, and we want to make sure that people are safe in whatever they're doing and whatever they're enjoying while they're out, whether it's boating safety, wear your life jacket, or whether it's firearm safety and you're out getting your first antelope.
Very good. Of course, you can go to wgfd.wyo.gov, go to the education and camp section, learn more about the hunter education, the bow hunter education, and just conservation as a whole. Janet, we appreciate it as always.
Enjoy the fall.
It's Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors.
It's Brian and Drew at Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, where I'm telling you, if you haven't been in here lately, you're missing out on a lot of great opportunities for your hunting seasons. Because, Brian, you've already gone through one full case, or I guess a display case of bags for the game, and now you're already got another group out there, and things are going in and coming out just as quick.
Oh yeah, people are hitting the field and they're excited about being out there, and guys are restocking their packs from last year that they used up. Whether it's new blades for your outdoor edge or your knives or game bags or you name it. But there's a buzz going on around here, and there's a lot of people and a lot of out-of-staters coming through, and it's a fun time of year.
When people come out of state, it's kind of tough, especially if you're flying, to bring a lot of your stuff, because you got to go through the whole check-in process and that whole entire mess. So bringing your knives and bringing even the broadheads, I'm sure, is kind of a rough thing to do. So if they're in town, they can swing by here and pick it all up.
Yeah, I mean, there's always those situations where, you packed a bunch of stuff in carry-on bags, but then you also checked a bag, and then maybe the checked bag didn't quite make it or whatever else. So, but yeah, I mean, just even taking care of just our local guys, a lot of times, you and I have same situations, like, well, what pants are going to fit this year,
right.
Whether you went up in size or down in size, but that's always a challenge as well. So just being prepared and going through those packs and, getting those guns out, went to the Stuckin offices last week myself and got the 300 Win Mag out there, and of course I'm hoping to stick one with my bow, but I'm not going to wait, right? So I went out there and had a new turret cut for my Burris Veracity scope and had that put on and made sure that was accurate. And man, it's fun when those things work, because I sighted in at 100 and went right out to that 350 gong and, whacked it 3 times. So it was great.
And we talk a lot about that, where you don't want to wait until the last minute to do that, or not even sight in your gun, but you put that new optic on and got it all dialed in. But if you would have gone out to the field, it could have been bad news.
Yeah, because it was, it was shooting dead on last year, but you just never know if it got knocked around in the gun safe or after your hunt when you're packing out. So it's good to just double check that and make sure that you've got the same ammunition you were shooting last year and what you've got it dialed in for. Because right now ammunition's sitting pretty good, but a lot of these manufacturers have changed their formulation of bullets and bullet types, and maybe there was a Nosler partition last year, but now they're running a Barnes TSX or something. So you need to make sure that your gun's still sighted in for what you're going to be shooting this year.
And are they switching that up because some of those parts are just still hard to get, so they're going with the next best thing?
Yeah, I mean, I know at one point, Weatherby was having to relabel the back of their boxes because they couldn't get the particular powder that they were using for that load, and they had to change the powder load, and maybe it burned a little faster or cleaner or whatever the case was, but it changed the velocity feet per second that they had to, relabel a bunch of boxes. So, unfortunately, the supply chain is still kind of a challenge for some manufacturers, although it's getting better. But there still are some challenges.
So we're kind of rolling through this, and you're talking about sighting in a gun and getting new optics, and there's still time to get a new rifle. If maybe your old rifle just isn't cutting it anymore, or maybe it's too much for you now, you can definitely come in and check out the whole line.
Yeah. So and one of the neat things we're doing, we haven't ever done it before, but we're calling it Savage Days. So starting today through next Sunday, we're going to be offering discounts on any Savage rifle, whether it's a 22 or a 7 mag, anything in between. We're going to automatically give you a $50 discount for any gun up to $500, and then anything over $500, we're going to give you $100 off of that gun. Now, on top of that, when you purchase a scope, if you purchase a Burris or a Leopold, we're going to give you free rings. We're also going to mount it, bore sight it, level it for you, and then we're going to have a drawing for any purchase over $200 of Leopold. You're going to be put in for a drawing for a VX6 $1,000 scope. So,
wow!
And then I think we got a Burris thermal on as a giveaway this week too for any Burris purchase.
So all you're not doing is shooting the gun for them in the field.
Yeah, and we probably could do that for you too, but no, just kidding.
It's always a fun time to come in here to Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, and I always like to stress that when you come in here, you're going to find what you need, but it may take you a little while because there's so many great things. And, we talked about the game bags. They're right as soon as you walk in the door, but when you get that game home, it's time to really think about what you're going to do with it. And I know you guys have all the processing tools here as well.
Yeah, in fact, we just got a really big shipment of LEM, so all the grinders, slicers, dicers, the meat lugs to throw all your meat in. All of that's here. We also have a big shipment of Mountain House. So all the seasonings, out of Riverton, those are all stocked up and ready to go. So if you're planning on doing jerky or that kind of stuff, now's a good time to just make sure that you have that supply to get it processed. And then the LEM stuff, maybe you want to go in with a buddy, and do some processing yourself. So, maybe you and your buddy split up the price of a grinder and you get yourself a really nice one. And, you're going to save as much money as it was to get it processed by just purchasing the equipment that you need.
And I'm a brand guy, so I like to stick with all the same brand if I have like the slicer, the grinder. And that's one of the great things here too, because you have all that here in store. You don't have to order something now and then get something later. You can get it all here at the same time.
And I'll be honest with you, like we carry products of manufacturers that we know support the consumer. So most of the stuff has good warranties on it. They allow us to take care of the customer in store in most cases. We're also, we're more quality products that aren't breaking down on people. And there's a lot of other, people come in with other brands of product, and whether it's a factory or a non-factory brand, but a private label brand from another, brand X sporting goods store. And they're disappointed because the motor burned out too quickly or whatever the case is. So the products that we're carrying, generally, we stand by them because we know that they're just the solid, good core merchandise that's not going to leave you high and dry.
And another thing that I like about, Rocky Mountain Discount Sports is it's Wyoming owned. Mm-hmm. So, the owners live directly here, so they care about the men and women that are out there in the field and on the ground.
Yeah, and our home base is up in Gillette, but the company allows us to order what we need for our region, so we have a lot of elk hunting here. We've got a lot of like trout fishing, right? So we can order products that are relevant, that are actually, we're not filling up our shelves with product that, is such a niche of like bass fishing, for instance. There's bass fishing in Wyoming, but it's such a small niche of people that are doing it that, we really focus on the trout and walleye fishing. Now we're starting to kind of expand into some kokanee. But even on the hunting side, we're looking at products that have good name brand recognition in the region, that are, Rocky Mountain elk calls, that's a great one in terms of like elk bugles and mouth calls and that kind of stuff. So we have the flexibility to order what people are requesting, and we're not handcuffed by some corporate office that's out of Missouri.
Right. And I also like the fact that you guys stock the store with Wyoming-made products, too. Mm-hmm. Like you mentioned, the seasonings that come right out of Riverton, and, there are other products made in Wyoming that you guys sell here.
Yeah, I mean, real big supporter of Hornady. They're made out of Nebraska. We've got Apsaraka ammunition. They're made out of Sheridan. So there's a lot of HSMs made up in Montana. I mean, there's a lot of good regional companies that we really try to support, and they do a good job. They make great products, and they also support the hunter, the fisherman, by backing their products.
Yeah, it's a great store. If you haven't been into a Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, I encourage you to do it, and you can go find out where they're located at RockyMountainSports.com. It's a great website, especially if maybe you're looking for that particular gun or a certain item that you may want to find in the store. Get over there, check it out, and then come in and see them. CY Avenue in Casper.
It's Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors.
It's Drew and Brian Woodward back at Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, and we talk a lot about how exciting it is for this time of year. And September is a big month because not only game birds, like dove and quail and all that are in. You've got
blue grouse
and
sage grouse coming up.
Yeah, and that's, I believe, next week. And then you said that the blue grouse on in Area 19, you saw them all over the place when you're up scouting around.
Yeah, it's an exciting kind of time of year, right? Because we're gonna have waterfowl season opening up too. The bird farms are open up for pheasants, and there's a lot to do. I mean, pick your poison.
When we were just chatting a little bit about some predators, how coyotes have really been thick this year, and I've seen a lot of Facebook messages where it's like, hey, come hunt these coyotes, get them off of my property. They're messing with my cows and screwing up my game. So come on down and do this. So if somebody was going to go out and hunt some coyotes, obviously now it's a little easier with some of the thermal scopes and stuff that they have. But, what kind of gun are they using?
Yeah, I'd say the most preferred gun for coyotes right now is a 22-250. Some guys will use a 204. Some guys will just use a 223 or a 5.56. But and then of course there's 6mm Creedmoors. I mean, but 22-250. If a guy was just going to get started and just wanted a gun that there's a lot of different opportunities or options on guns, 22-250 is probably the number one.
Which you probably have a Savage in here that you can probably get a deal on.
Yeah, with our Savage days going on, you can get probably $50 to $100 off.
See, you can't beat it. Come on in here, Rocky Mountain Discount Sports. But then we also talk about, you were at Pathfinder last week, and the coyotes were you're surrounded. They had them on this side and cackling back and forth.
Yeah, we were back in a bay and back by Bird Island, and they were like howling on the point of the one of the kind of not on the island but on one of the points, and then there's a bunch of them barking and screaming and hooting and hollering back, a mile, 2 miles back, towards the Pathfinder Ranch. So I don't even know if it really matters where you go. It sounds like the coyote population is up this year. and the rabbit population seems to be up. So they kind of go hand in hand. When rabbits are good, the coyotes are good, and they have plenty to eat. So, the fun part is just kind of pick a day. It does, obviously if you're going to hunt at night with thermals, there's a handful of different regulations in terms of having IRs on your hat or helmets. And then if you're just hunting during the day, a lot of guys just use mouth calls, but you can get a Lucky Duck or a Fox Pro, and it's got a whole slew of different calls in there that you just let it just scream and see what you see.
And it really kind of makes it easy. You may be somebody that maybe you're not as mobile as you used to be, or as active as you used to be. It's a great way to get out and shoot your gun and really eliminate a predator. And we mentioned Pathfinder because you were fishing with some police officers.
Yeah, I got to help old Chase Johnson put together a little event up there at Pathfinder last Saturday, and we took I think ended up being 18 or 19 officers that we took out for a day of fishing, and then followed up with a barbecue and some awards, and I think everybody had a pretty good time. It's Pathfinder's generally not too big of a struggle catching fish. Catching good quality fish is more of a struggle, but the largest fish of the day was a 19-inch walleye. We ended up taking third place with a 17-incher, and then they also had a division for trout. And old Harold Mason's boat, they caught a 25-inch brown, I believe it was, and we had a 18-inch trout. So we took second place trout and won overall with our combined score. So,
nice, not too bad.
Yeah.
And normally you are putting on the tournament through the Wyoming Walleye Stampede, and the focus is walleye. So when you have a difference like that, are you have two different sets where you're fishing walleye on one line and trout on another?
No, but we specifically targeted trout when we were ready. We went and we had about 25 walleyes that day, and we knew we wanted to at least have a chance at the trout side, so we went out to the middle of the lake, put down some silver and chartreuse walleye divers 100 foot back behind the boat, and just started trolling across the middle. And we didn't fish for them very long. We caught the 118-incher and thought that that would probably get us on the board.
Yeah. No kidding. But and that's got to be fun to give, because you don't fish trout a lot, so kind of throws a little something different at you. Yeah.
Well, in my boat, I had a police officer and his 14-year-old son. So the 14-year-old son, saw that rod going back and grabbed it and reeled it in. So he had a good time, and probably an experience he doesn't get to do quite a bit. So
when I went, and I've only gone trout fishing once, and that was whenever I was in South Dakota a month ago now. Gosh, time's just flying. But you always joke around how just a jig and a worm is enough to get the job done. And I caught fish all weekend.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing how well, just especially in most of our bodies of water, I mean, they're just full of bugs, and anytime that there's a good bug hatch, it seems like the worm bite always is good. So hard to beat a worm, for sure.
Again, it takes it back to old school fishing, and that's
just regular fishing.
It's always fun.
Just regular fishing.
And it's funny when people are like, "What? You used a worm?" You guys. No, worm. That's it.
Yeah.
Tom Sawyer over here, man.
Tom Sawyer. That's right. Yeah, bamboo cane pole. That's what I got here.
So we're getting ready, I guess, in a couple of months to head up and do our cow hunt. But now you're preparing for your bull elk in Area 19.
Yeah, been up there a couple days, chasing them around with the crossbow, and got up to Stuckenoffs and sighted in my rifle because time just sneaks up on you, and so I wanted to make sure that was dialed in and it's in good shape. But yeah, there's you have to really kind of pay attention to, especially with some of these season dates. There's usually a type 1, a type 2, there might be a type 4, type 6, or a type 8 tag, and you got to really, me and you sit here and look at the calendar, and I marked out all the dates, when duck season opens, when duck season closes, when goose season opens, closes, and all my hunting seasons are on the calendar also, so I kind of know when those dates are active, I guess.
So, and you were actually just telling me a little while ago that your shotgun, you went out and shot that because it's been a while since you have shot it.
Yeah, it's kind of, I've been shooting with 28 gauge an awful lot. It just patterns really nice. It's nice and light. And we're doing some hand loads with some tungsten. and we wanted to just see how it was patterning. So I just had some 18-inch targets. I didn't have a 30-inch target, which I probably should have had, but I just went out and patterned those shells that we've been reloading and checking the pattern with different chokes. So with tungsten and this bismuth and steel shot, you don't want to have too tight of a choke pattern. Normally modified is about the tightest you want to run. So I ran a load through with modified, one with improved cylinder and one with cylinder bore, just completely wide open. And it's kind of interesting how that all pans out. On the modified, it almost appeared that the wad was kind of blowing a hole through the pattern. And with the improved cylinder, it had a really good, even pattern, that I felt really comfortable with. The cylinder bore was good as well at 30 yards. But, when we stretched that out a little bit further, I was afraid that pattern might just open up a little bit too much. But I think it's good to understand what your shotgun's doing, and, sometimes, certain guns will shoot a little high. Some might shoot a little to the left. And, if you can get down on a bag and just secure your shot and throw a couple shells through there and see what it's actually doing, it's going to make you a more confident hunter for sure.
And I've noticed that, a couple of years ago, I bought a new shotgun and did some hunting and stuff with it. But, we hunted early in the year, and then we went out and shot a little bit during the summer. But, it's difficult when you get out of the rhythm because, that's why, going out and shooting targets or whatever is a good idea before you head out hunting, or else you're out there just kind of blindsided and not being able to figure out how you're going.
Especially with a shotgun, it's just more repetition. You're having to, shoulder that shotgun and you're not so much aiming, you're just pointing. And so you want to be able to repeat that same motion over and over again, so it's nice and comfortable and fluid and going to give you the best opportunity to make a good shot.
How often do you lay on the ground and test out shooting? Because you in the layout blinds, and do you ever get out and do that?
I don't. I mean, I shoot enough off the ground. Over my lifetime, I think I've got that motion down pretty well. But there's a couple other gets that we're going to look at putting up some A-frames this year and shooting off of like director's chairs, so a guy doesn't have to like push up off of a chair. So I got a couple friends that I want to get out that little less mobile than us, and so I think those panel blinds and A-frames are going to work out pretty good.
That's fun, and and that again goes back to just planning and having a good time, and always thinking about what's next.
Well, we made a trip out to the duck blind last weekend, and cut down a bunch of weeds so we could recover the blinds and stuff new grass in there. And we get out there, and there's about 1.5 feet of water in the blind. So the river's still high enough where the blind is pretty much under. Open the door, and the decoys are floating inside the blind. So again, it's planning. We might have to have a plan B if the water levels don't go down before hunting season opens up.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it? But it's a fun time, and you've got all these outdoor ideas in your mind. When we're on the water, you're like, all right, how can I make my fishing better? And you're always coming up with, well, I'm going to do this, and now you're got other plans for.
Yeah, we got to squeeze the elk hunting in between all the goose hunting and the duck hunting and the pheasant hunting, and maybe a few doves in there, and there's just always so much to do. It's hard to figure out what we're gonna do.
What you're gonna do? Yeah. When you're gonna have a little break?
Yeah,
from all the good stuff.
Yeah, you gotta keep active though. You gotta have a reason to get up in the morning, and unfortunately, you still have to work. So you gotta make the best of your time off.
Yeah. Well, obviously, when you're heading out, stop in here to Rocky Mountain Discount Sports before you hit the road.
It's Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors.
Welcome back in on the program. We have had such a great show. We've talked about a lot of things so far, and one of the things that we talk about a lot on Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors is being prepared. And I have Kira here from the Natrona County Sheriff's Office, and one of the things that is offered here in Natrona County is the Backcountry SOS app. A lot of people maybe don't have the money to go buy a GPS system or some sort of satellite phone. This is an opportunity for men and women that are in the backcountry to get help if they need it?
Yeah, so the smartphone app itself is made possible by the generous support of the Teton County Search and Rescue Foundation as part of their Back County Zero project. So the whole application is free for anyone to use. We encourage that you download it before you go out into the backcountry. That way, if you need it, you already have the application on your phone. And if you can squeeze out a text message, then you can get your location and GPS coordinates to 911, our dispatch center here in Natrona County, where first responders can then utilize that information to find you in the backcountry.
This program is really fascinating. If you think about the fact that if you can get just one text message out, it could really save your life, obviously, but just one text message can give enough information to single in and really focus in on exactly where the person is.
Exactly that, Drew. And even with the best preparation, with the best skills, with all of the tools in your toolbox, we really still encourage you to have the Backcountry SOS application. It's free. You don't have to register for it. So as long as you have it on your phone, if you need it, you can utilize it.
And the reason that we can utilize it here is because we have the text to 911. So if you're in a county where that's not available, the Backcountry SOS app won't work. But here in Natrona County and many counties in Wyoming, it does work.
Yes, so almost 1,500 counties support the text to 911 utilization. So here in Natrona County, definitely our dispatch center monitors it. So of course, if you're traveling throughout the state, you can always jump onto an emergency management page in that county or reach out to your local officials and see if that's something that can be utilized before you traverse out into the back county.
Do you have any kind of a stat of how many people actually have this on their phone or have used it of any sort?
I don't specifically. I think Teton County Search and Rescue would have more of that information, but we can certainly find that out.
When you come up with an idea or a plan like this, obviously there are many backcountry accidents that happen or incidents that have happened over the years. And what are some things that people should do other than have this app to really prepare for something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you're traversing out into the back county and you're planning on going out for the day, make sure that you always packed extra food and water, those types of necessities in case your stay does become longer if you happen across an accident or an emergency. Just ensuring that you're prepared with plenty of food and water so that way if your stay is extended until first responders get to you, you can take care of yourself.
So hunting seasons across Wyoming are very... Well, it's important because people rely on these for, feeding their families and, making sure that their families are taken care of. And in Wyoming, there are 8 counties that for sure have this: the Albany, Carbon, Natrona, Park County, Sweetwater, and Teton County. So, those are some of the bigger areas with the bigger mountain ranges. So it seems like this program has caught on for quite a part of the state.
Yes, and it just keeps expanding too.
When folks are really checking out some ideas when it comes to backcountry preparedness, I know that having some sort of a medical plan or medical skills, a medical kit, but when these first responders are training for that, can just the average county deputy go back and really jump into action on something like this?
Yes. So as part of the Sheriff's Office, we do have Natrona County Search and Rescue, and they actually operate under the Emergency Management Division. So they spend all year round training in different scenarios, landscapes, weather, to ensure that they can respond to any type of emergency should somebody find themselves lost, experiencing a medical emergency, or if they get into some type of accident.
So everybody that will respond is fully prepared to be able to get in on that. What kind of training goes into that for these folks?
Sure. So the resident deputies are constantly training because they're working as part of the Sheriff's Office. And then we have a wonderful group of Natrona County Search and Rescue volunteers. And they're citizens that own businesses around town. They have jobs around town. They're regular citizens that dedicate their time, their resources, sometimes their money, to put forth effort into learning these different types of training situations so that they can get out and help our deputies and our partner agencies if we need to stand up a search and rescue.
So the Natrona County Emergency Management is always expanding. And if someone really wants to get involved, you talked about just being, normal businesses around town. How can people get involved with this?
Sure, you can give us a call at the Emergency Management Office. Once a year, we open up our application process because then we try to onboard everybody at the same time. They go through an intensive couple weeks of training together, and then after that, you're grouped into the rest of our search and rescue volunteers, and then that becomes a weekly training.
So when something like this happens and you're a volunteer, is there like a broad text that's sent out, or is it an email, or everybody get a call?
Yeah, so it's technically a text message, but it's a page that's sent through our office. So if a call for help comes in through the dispatch center, then emergency management, our deputy coordinator and our coordinator will dispatch that out to our volunteers to their cell phones, to their phone, via phone call, however they want to receive notifications, and then it's an all hands on deck kind of response. Which
is fantastic. You think about this, and we did just celebrate the memory of 9/11 and the first responders that have put so much in to save people's lives, and it takes a special person to want to do that, and we have a lot of those folks here in Natrona County.
Absolutely. It takes a lot of heart, and we're really lucky to where we have citizens that want to step up and answer the call alongside our first responders who respond. They say it takes a village, and it really does in these situations.
So if you're interested, you can go to your app store and it's Apple or Google or any of those, yep. Android, and go to Backcountry SOS. You can go to that website too and find out to make sure that where you're going hunting or fishing or hiking is involved.
Yeah, and before you go out, just explore the app. It's really easy to use. There's some push prompts should you need to use it. But once you get into the application, very easy to use.
Awesome. Kira, we appreciate it. Go over and check it out again. If you want to just research it, it's backcountrysos.com. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors with Drew Kirby. If you have a question, want to make a comment, or have an idea for a show topic, message us on the My Country mobile app. Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors.